Certainly, the consensus is that there is going to be a trade truce. And at this point, Eurasia Group places a 65% probability on that. But more importantly, what is going to be the outcome of that truce? And in that, we see falling prospects of an eventual trade deal actually getting done this year, placing only a 45% probability based upon the remaining gap between Washington and Beijing, as well as by the complications that were introduced by the U.S. placement of Huawei, the Chinese telecommunications giant, on the entity list.
That's an interesting point there, Meredith, that the odds of an eventual deal, in your view, are coming down. John, do you subscribe to that view? And how thorny a problem is Huawei in all of this?
Well, the lead is, I think, that this trade war is just politically too profitable to end. This trade war is going to go on right into the election season next year.
In other words, it's too delicious an issue for the president to let go of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hating foreigners is easy in politics, and so that's what we're doing. But you know what? We'll probably get some kind of a truce this weekend. We're hearing a lot of rumbles about it, probably without a deadline. I don't think that's going to make a deal. Truth is, a deal's been in place since February, more or less, and has been undermined since then by the Huawei sanctions and by the sanctions last week on the 5 additional companies. And so I think they're gonna have a nice meeting. They won't announce a deal, but they'll announce we're going to go back and talk to each other. I'm just glad in this world I'm not Steve Mnuchin. He has the hardest job in the world.
What do you think that means for tariffs, John? Which way are they going?
Well, they won't. I think they won't be raised, which is what the proximate quick goal is of this thing, is to save the increase on the $300 billion. That's a great sword to hold over somebody's head, and he'll want to continue holding that. But this thing has expanded now. Early on, it was a trade war. It was thought of as an economics issue. It has turned into foreign policy. The foreign policy guys in the White House are involved now. We're trying to stop China from growing and getting important and influential. That's not going to go away.
Meredith, do you see it that way, the way John does? In other words, that this has metastasized from a simple trade and balance of payments issue into something bigger than that, at least within some quarters of the White House?
I would say that the U.S. president probably still thinks about this as primarily a trade issue and has used Huawei and some of these other non-traditional pressure means to try to get his deal. But broadly speaking, the way that the national security hawks in the U.S. administration are thinking, and importantly, how Beijing is now perceiving this situation. Beijing does see this as not a simple trade deal, but actually more so of a long-term economic struggle. And we see signs that Beijing is taking steps, monetary and other sort of fiscal easing measures, to prepare its economy to be able to withstand this kind of pressure coming from Washington over the long term. So if I'm Xi Jinping and I'm showing up at the G20, in our view, his goal is not to come to the table ready to negotiate and ready to make concessions, but rather to see what can be done to stave off onward escalation and to manage the risk coming from Washington until it's clear whether he's going to have a different partner post-November 2020.